One of the big new systems coming with Mr. Pandaria Classic is going to be your personal farm. This farming area you're going to unlock at Half Hill Market, which is in Valley of the Four Winds, and over time as you gain reputation with the tillers, which is the reputation that's directly linked with it, you're going to be able to evolve your farm to have more plots where you'll start with 4 and you'll end with 16. You'll be able to unlock a mailbox and turn the little hut at the top into an inn, meaning you can log in almost directly on top of where your crops are. And there's several NPCs as well which you can raise your friendship level with, where you'll start as a stranger and eventually become best friends. And when you reach best friend with some of these, you're going to get things that are going to be extremely beneficial to your farm. Whilst most of the things that you'll do around the farm revolve around cooking and being able to make really good food, there's also a lot of profession benefits to this as well, or gold making potential, where you can actually plant things that are not specifically for cooking, which is probably why you've heard you're going to want all of your oats sat at the farm, tilling the soil, planting and harvesting crops every day on multiple characters. So we're going to talk about what the point of the farm is, so why you would even bother doing it in the first place, some things to bear in mind when it comes to oats and the things that you're actually growing, how to raise your reputation with the tillers and your friendship level with all of the citizens, and then finally some cool rewards and things that make using the farm a lot easier. Before we jump into that, make sure you check out the Rested XP link in the pinned comment in the description if you want the fastest way to level in Mr. Pandaria, and of course even to level your monks in the pre-patch. As part of buying the guide, you also get a couple of bonuses thrown in. You'll get the pre-launch preparation guide, where it shows you what the best quests are to get stacked up and even items that you can hand in as soon as MoP goes live. And you'll even get a level 90 dailies guide for when MoP's actually out as well, so it'll guide you around so you can maximize the amount of reputation you get a day. It is an affiliate link, so any guides bought go towards supporting the channel, so thanks in advance for that. And let's get on with it. So firstly, when it comes to why you would bother doing this, food is one of the biggest reasons. It's not until the last phase where we get access to the most powerful raid-wide food, and that comes in the form of a noodle cart. You could consider this the equivalent of the fish feast in Cataclysm. Now there are banquets that you'll be able to get, and they're pretty cheap to make as well, but they're not as powerful as individual food. The best banquets you can actually make are only 275 stats, where most of the cheap ones are only 250 stats, but the individual food you'll get yourself is 300 of a primary stat. So using the shrimp food as an example, these require black pepper, giant mantis shrimp, Mushan ribs and green cabbage. Now, the green cabbage is the thing that you'll be able to grow at your farm. We'll go into that in a second, but what about the black pepper? Now, all of the 300 stat food requires one of these big items. So the big stamina food requires rice flour. Now, you pick these up from Nam Pore, which is the stockmaster, and he's located at the main hub in Half Hill Market. Now, each of these cost 1 Pore token, and you get Pore tokens from doing dailies. Once you've done a small quest chain up to and including preserving freshness, you'll be able to repeatedly hand in full containers for 1 token each. So you can get these from fishing, for example with Tiger Gurami, combining 20 Tiger Gurami into a bundle, you'll hand a stack in, you'll get an Pore token. The same way you could actually use your farm to get the Pore tokens by growing things like witch berries, putting them into an empty container and handing in for Pore tokens as well. Or you can go out and just flat out grind on stuff like tigers or turtles to be able to get their meat to hand those in. Or you could just go to the auction house and buy loads of meat and then be able to get Pore tokens. So these are not like cooking tokens that you would know about in Cataclysm or in Wrath or whatever. These are all repeatable and you can get as many Pore tokens as you want. You can even then hand the tokens in to be able to buy things that you would ordinarily plant. So if we use scallions as an example, you can hand in Pore tokens to get scallions, use those scallions to be able to make agility food, for example, and you never actually need to grow or plant anything because you can just make all of your food from Pore tokens. So you can go out and just grind on turtles all day, keep handing in the turtle meat into containers to get Pore tokens to buy the materials for your food. So while you can get the 300 food without actually having to plant a single thing at your farm outside of doing the introductory quest line, as you can see, being able to grow the scallions, for example, just cuts down on all the other materials that you're going to need for your food. Now, outside of growing stuff for food, of course, there are profession-related materials that you can grow as well. Now, up until Revered with the tillers, you are limited only to cooking-related materials, though. But once you hit Revered, you'll be able to grow things like songbell seeds. So with songbell seeds, you're going to be able to grow motes of harmony, snake root seeds, which are for things like ghost iron ore or trillium ore, mage bulb seeds are for dust for enchanting, raptor leaf seeds are for exotic leather for leather working, and you can even grow enigma seeds, which will give you herbs, and they even have a chance at giving you golden lotus, and the golden lotus are obviously needed for flasks. Now, what most people are planning on is using songbell seeds on their alts to grow lots and lots of motes of harmony to have a steady income of Spirits of Harmony. Now this takes us nicely onto what do you need to bear in mind, or what do you need to be aware of? Because actually before level 90, you're not going to be able to do this. At level 85, if you was planning on having all of your level 85 alts sat over here just using the farm, you won't be able to progress past having only 4 slots, and without any intervention from Blizzard, as in implementing any account-wide reputation gains or anything like that, you shouldn't even be able to get any reputation past the introductory quest chain. So because you need Revered to be able to plant things like Songbell Seeds, you will have to get to level 90 and work on your reputation with the tillers. But that doesn't mean it's not worth it, because for every character you're growing, let's say 4 lots of scallions on each day, that's an Iron Pore token that you can hand in and then buy a black pepper or rice flour or whatever you need for your food, because none of these big cooking materials are bind on pickup, so you'd even be able to sell them on the auction house. So the more level 85s you've got using the 4 plots, the easier access you're going to have to food, the easier access you're going to have to rice flour, black pepper, or 100-year-old sauce. So it's still a massive benefit, but if you was planning on having all your 85s growing Motes of Harmony, you're not going to be able to do it. But you're probably thinking, well, surely my alts are just going to get reputation every day by actually harvesting the materials. No. At level 90, you get reputation with the tillers for progressing through the quest line, which is going to unlock you more slots. I'm not going to go through the whole quest line because, quite honestly, it's pretty basic. But at level 90, you're also going to be getting reputation for every harvest you do. So every time you actually harvest one of your crops, you're going to get reputation. Unfortunately, this doesn't actually happen until level 90. And it's at level 90 you're going to unlock dailies that you can go and do as well, which are going to give additional reputation, of course, and some valor points and some lesser charms. But at level 85, you are just stuck with 4 plots, and that won't change until 90. Now, there has always been a rather cheeky yet boring and really long-winded way of getting extra reputation and extra yield from your crops as well, because whenever you plant a crop, you've got a chance of it being a bursting crop. So a very old school method was to actually plant everything. If none of them are bursting, get rid of them all and then plant them again, and just keep going until you get bursting crops, because it means extra reputation, no waiting for them to grow either, but the chance of it happening is incredibly low, and the time spent having to do it for most people is just not worth it. Something else worth bearing in mind is there's absolutely no point in leveling cooking until you're actually in Mist of Pandaria. If you've already got max cooking, then that's great, but if you haven't, don't worry about doing it now, because you're going to be able to max cooking at Sungshin Iron Pore, and most of it's just bought from the vendor outside of a couple of fish that you'll need to either go and get yourself or buy off the auction house. But you can literally get your cooking to MoP levels of cooking in 5-10 minutes, and it costs very little gold because you're just buying all the stuff from the vendor stood next to her. Now, when it comes to choosing what you're going to grow, ultimately it's going to come down to the food that you want or the crop that's selling for the most on the auction house. But there is one other thing to bear in mind. There's this fella here just sat down by the lake called Jogu the Drunk. Before you've got any friendship level with him, if you speak to him, you can pay 25 gold and he's going to tell you what the good crop of the day is. So in this example, the next good harvest is going to be scallions. Each day, if you plant the crops that are the crop of the day, you're going to get extra yield. Now, as you raise your reputation with him, it will go from 25 gold to 1 gold, and eventually when you're best friends with him, it will be absolutely free. So if you're planting to maximize your yield to be able to get as many Iron Pore tokens as possible a day, then always planting the crop of the day is definitely worthwhile. As for how the quest line actually progresses on, you're going to start with 4 slots, and once you hit Honoured, you're going to be able to get a quest called Growing the Farm, and you're going to be able to get another 4 slots. As you progress through, the whole point of the quest line is to be able to help Farmer Yoon, who you're actually getting the farm from, to being accepted into the tillers. So at various different reputation breakpoints, you're going to be able to get a quest to be able to get signatures from different people. Now, these don't come as you hit a new reputation level. For example, at Revered at around 4.2k, you're going to be able to get Farmer Fung's vote. At 8.4k through Revered, you're going to get Nana's vote, so on and so forth. But from Honoured onwards, at each different reputation level, you're going to get one of the big quests, which are called Growing Your Farm. So you're going to get Growing Your Farm 1 at Honoured, Growing Your Farm 2 at Revered, and 3 at Exalted. At each one of these levels, you're going to unlock more slots. For example, at Revered, you're going to be trying to get rid of the cart that's blocking 4 of the plots. And then at Exalted, you're going to be able to move the big boulder, unlocking another 4 slots. So in the end, you'll end up with 16. Now, you're probably thinking 16 slots sounds like a lot to manage, because what you're going to start with is untilled soil. You're going to till the soil so it's ready to have stuff planted in it. Sometimes you're going to get stubborn weeds that you're going to have to pull out. Sometimes the soil is going to be occupied where you need to kill a couple of things. But the most irritating thing is once you've actually planted your seeds. They're either going to be parched, so you need to water them with your watering can. They're going to be infested, so you need to use the bug sprayer. Or you'll have things like alluring, where you need to kill stuff. Runty crops, where you need to click on it and then jump. I mean, they're all pretty basic what you've actually got to do. But when you're doing that 16 times on possibly multiple characters, it can be pretty time consuming. That's why you get these small quest items. So for example, at Honored, when you get your 8 slots, you'll be able to get a quest called Jinyu Princess Irrigation System. These are going to be pretty simple quests which are self-explanatory, but once you complete it, your farm will be rewarded with an irrigation system. So this just means when you get parched herbs, you can click on the irrigation system and it will eliminate all of those straight away. The same way at Revered, you can unlock the Thunder King Pest Repeller. So anytime you've got infested crops, you can just click on this and that will get rid of them all straight away as well. And finally, at Exalted, you'll get Earth Slasher, the Master Plough. This is so you can till 4 slots at a time. So as you progress on and your farm grows, you do get additional ways to actually make the whole process quicker. Another good benefit to this is once you're actually exalted with the tillers and you've got everything up and running, you can also get work orders. So you could get, for example, Golden Lotus work orders where they want you to harvest white turnips, Shadow Pan, which will be green cabbage, etc, etc. Depending on what work order you do, as in for what reputation you do the work order for, you'll get 400 reputation with that faction. So you can actually work on other factions outside of the tillers once you're exalted with them. Now, every day you've got hand-ins as well, where you can hand in 5 of the favourite food with a specific NPC. So, for example, Chi-Chi really likes Valley Stir Fry, so you'll hand in 5 stir fries. This is an additional way to be able to gain friendship levels with those individual NPCs. The other way to be able to raise your friendship level is the Dark Soil turn-ins. So all around Pandaria, you'll be able to find Dark Soil. In these, you'll get things like blue feathers or jade cats, lovely apples, marsh lilies. Different NPCs like different gifts, and you can hand these in for friendship levels with those NPCs. Like I mentioned earlier, Jogu the Drunk, for example, once you become his best friend, will send you a secret stash in the Mao, but will also now give you the predictions for the best crop for free every day. An important one if you're a pet battler will be Show. If you raise your reputation with him to best friend, in the mail he'll send you a red cricket. Gina's also quite an important one, especially if you spend a lot of time here, because Gina will add a mailbox, which is really nice, but the others are mostly cosmetic, with having cats wander around your farm or chickens or whatever, like nothing of any real big use. If you're a bit of a mount collector, when you get to Exalted, you are going to have 3 mounts that you can buy. All 3 of them are different coloured riding goats, so you're going to be able to get a Tiller's Tabard. And if you're a pet battler, outside of the red cricket, when you are planting and harvesting stuff, you've got a chance of getting an ominous seed. When you plant the ominous seed, you're going to be able to get a terrible turnip pet, which is not actually a bad pet to get hold of. There is one final big reward you can get, and I say big loosely, but once you've got Exalted with the Tillers and best friends with all of the NPCs, you'll be able to loot an old map from a Catgal grouper in the lake north of the Heartland. The map starts a quest line. Once you complete the quest line, which only takes a couple of minutes, you're going to get 100 gold and then 1 of each type of gem, including a primal diamond. So not a bad reward, but certainly not the reason why you'd be getting Exalted and best friends with all of the Tillers. When it comes to the quest chain as well, it's worth screenshotting this comment from Wowhead because it's actually incredibly accurate and very, very useful. Whilst it doesn't matter too much for day 1 because you're planting the scallions and they become available immediately, for the future days, they're going to ask you to plant something and then you're going to have to harvest it and wait for them to be harvestable. So if you're always 1 day ahead, so you've got the carrots before the carrots are actually needed, the quest itself will tell you to plant and then harvest the carrots. But because you've already harvested the carrots, to complete the quest, all you're going to have to do is hand them in. Again, just take a quick screenshot of this, keep it to one side and make sure that you follow it the first time you set your farm up and then on all subsequent alts as well. And really, I think that about sums it up. That's everything from how to grow your farm to how to get reputation to the benefits of the reputation and sort of a little bit about cooking. But I am going to do a separate video on cooking because cooking is not really, even though it seems like it's directly involved with the Tillers, which don't get me wrong, there's material crossover there, but unlocking cooking recipes, being able to make feasts and all of that jazz is actually something completely separate. So I will cover that in another video. But as always, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe. Consider joining the channel as a member to just show that extra little bit of additional support, which is always appreciated. And I'll see you on the next one.